In this video, we are going to be discussing AI and Power BI. We're going to be discussing the integration of AI, artificial intelligence, and Power BI. Before we get started, the first thing I want you to do is scan this QR code, and join me in my Thursday webinars. Not only are you going to be able to join me in my Thursday webinars, but it's going to make you a part of our community, the community of CTOs. As a member of the community of CTOs, what do you get? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. As I originally mentioned, you will have access to our Thursday webinars, which are every Thursday from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's right, it's 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have a 1-hour webinar every Thursday where we discuss all things Power BI. They're jobs related, Power BI reports related, measures related, artificial intelligence related to Power BI, everything that's Power BI related. We're discussing that in our weekly webinars. Now, the second thing that you'll get access to when you join the community of CTOs is you'll get our weekly newsletter. What comes in the weekly newsletter is not just any weekly newsletter. What you will receive in the weekly newsletter is, again, a refresher on our Thursday webinars. You will get an update on our weekly YouTube video, the YouTube video of the week. That's very important because I have reports out there and exercises out there that you can learn Power BI simply by watching my free YouTube videos. The webinars are free. The YouTube videos are free. Go out there and check them out, but you get access to that information and updates and refreshes via our weekly webinars. You may also have questions as to what type of equipment should you be using in order to start your Power BI journey. What type of computer should you be using? What type of mouse, a keypad, keyboard? What type of desk setup should you have? I also provide that to my members of the CTOs in my weekly webinar. Now, you also can find that information in the comments section of this particular video, where I do attach the equipment that's needed for accessing or creating Power BI reports and creating a successful journey within Power BI. There are lots of things. Also, I have lives that I put on, live events that I do around the country, and you will have access to that information. Now, I'll be totally transparent with you. The lives are not always free. It comes with significant discounts for our members of the CTO, but the members of the CTOs are the ones that actually have access to the information. I don't openly broadcast this information to the general public, but members of the CTO, you can invite your friends, family, whoever you think would be interested in learning Power BI as well when it comes to the live events. There's lots of information that you will receive as a member of the CTO community by scanning the QR code, following the link, and inputting your email address, and it makes it real simple in order to become a member of the CTO. But that is not all that we are here to talk about today. We are here to talk about AI and Power BI, artificial intelligence and Power BI. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Just because you know how to just because ChatGPT, Claude, other artificial intelligence mechanisms are out there, does not mean that you're going to be it's going to be easy for you to get into Power BI, to create reports and create measures and things like that. If you know what you're looking for, it is going to make it more simple. But if you don't know what you're looking for, artificial intelligence is not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You've got to know what to ask it for. You've got to know what to prompt it to ask, prompt it to do in order to give you what you're looking for to get that desired result. Anyway, I am speaking to you and directly, given that you know how to use ChatGPT. We're going to be using ChatGPT as our artificial intelligence source today. And basically what we're going to do today is we are going to look at creating a prompt, and that prompt is going to give us visualizations, and it's going to give us measures. Now, what I want you to understand is ChatGPT, which is artificial intelligence, is simply artificial. So there are things that there may be some changes you need to make within your report, within your measures, within your visualizations, because it's just out there making things up. But it gives you a fresh start. It gives you an idea of how to start creating a Power BI report. So as we are here, I am over in ChatGPT as we see, and I am going to get this going because I do have a prompt that I want to create. And let's see here. The prompt that I am going to use is, I have a Power BI report with a table called retail and columns called records, sales volume, revenue, age, gender, location, income, product, A units, product B units, product D units, product A margin, product B margin, product C margin, product D margin, customer satisfaction, customer reviews, promotional effectiveness, foot traffic hours, foot traffic location, return rate, return reason, competitor X, competitor Y, competitor Z, and market share percentage. What visuals can be created from this data set? So as you can see, the end question is, what visuals can be created from this data set? So initially what we are going to get are the visuals that can be created from this data set. Now, we're not going to spend much time in the visualization part and the report part of the report today, because at the end of the day, if you don't have measures, you probably don't have enough information to build out a Power BI report, or the information that's needed to build out the Power BI report. But as we see here, the visuals that we get, the KPIs, the line chart, the combo chart, and the columns that we're going to use is sales volume, revenue, product, and product A units. Then we have key visuals. I keep getting a phone call. I don't know where this phone call coming from. You got key visuals that you can use: stack bar chart, matrix, waterfall chart, and the bar chart. Then it's going to tell us what columns that we can use: product A through D units, product A through D margin. Then the key visuals that we have is the donut chart, the histogram, the stacked column chart, and the bar chart. We are going to look at this in a later video. We're not going to spend much time on the visuals today, but what we asked it for initially was what visuals could be used in this report. And then it'll give us, once we go through the visualizations, it'll also give us some sample reports that we can actually start using as demos of how we want to build out our Power BI report. So we got key visuals here: the gauge chart, the bar chart, the scatter plot, the trend line, and the columns to be used. We also have the key visuals here. We're going to keep going down. Let's see. We've got promotions, marketing, competitive marketing analysis, key visuals, executive. Now we get here, we see the executive dashboard layout is what's recommended to build, to start building out the report. So we've got the reports that we can use, the report visuals that we can use for the executive dashboard, which we would use the visualizations that we were pulling out from here, from the top, and use these visuals within the executive dashboard. And we had several different layouts of an executive dashboard, and we've got several different visualizations that we can use of each one of the visual types that we can use to build out the executive dashboard. But as we can see here, at the end of the day, what we're getting is we are getting we're getting a representation of what visuals can be used. So if you don't have an idea of what visuals to use in your Power BI report, if you don't have an idea of where to start, what we found out here is, if we know the name of the data set, and we know all of the column names, we can then request or prompt ChatGPT to give us an example of what type of visuals we could use and get started from. For instance, here we're looking at this particular executive dashboard that was created, and basically what we did was we took visuals from each one of the different sections, and then we added those visuals into our Power BI report. Again, if you don't understand where to get the data from, or if you don't have the information to pull in for the data, building out the visuals is just not going to work. That's why I'm really kind of sprinting through building out or looking at the actual visuals, because the main purpose here is for you to understand what does it take in order for you to even prompt AI to give you what you're looking for in as far as a Power BI report. As you see here, these executive dashboards that we're looking at that are simply from AI, these are not going to match exactly as in our report, because there's really no data here. I gave it the column names, but I didn't give it the actual amounts that's going to be in the values that are going to be returned for each column. So it's only giving us an example. This is not going to give us exactly what we're looking for, but we can use this layout as I like to call it, the architectural landscape of the Power BI report. We can see where the KPIs go. We can see where the column chart's going to go. We can see where the bar chart is going to go. We can see where we've got a donut chart. And by us having this, we then can ask it, how do we find customer transactions, right? Because that's one of the visuals that we are looking at. So the question then is, based on those individual visuals, how do we find customers, the number of transactions? We're going to look here. We're looking at the KPIs. We got customers, number of transactions. We also have, we're looking at quantity ordered, and we're looking at top customer. Basically, we put all of that information from the KPIs in that first row, the title of the KPIs in that first row. By taking those titles and asking how do we find this information, now it's giving us the actual measures that we can use to find or to display that information. So we got the measure for each one of those items, top customer, quantity ordered. Now we want to go back and we want to look at the next visual that's in that particular report. And we're going to look at the title and we're going to say, how do we find, trend by customer values by quantity ordered, right? We just popped that into ChatGPT. It already knows the report that it gave us. And basically we're taking the title of the visualizations of the report that it gave us, and we're taking those titles of the visualizations and we're saying, well, hey, how do you find this, right? So how do I find the trend by customer? So we have gone from asking what visuals could be used if we have a data set that has the name of this and all of the columns of this. So it showed us the values. It showed us the visuals of those, the visuals that could be used. It created the different visuals. Then it created a report utilizing those visuals. And now we're asking it, okay, cool. I know how to find, I know what KPI card I want to use. How do I find the values within this KPI card? And the way that you find the values within those KPI cards, what you're really asking is, what's the measure for this? Same goes for the column chart. What's the measures that can be used in order to find the information in this column chart? What's the information that can be used to find the information in the bar chart? And once we get this information, then we're building out the actual measures of the report. Well, we're not even building out the measures. We've got the measures. Now, the measure we have here that has the variables, it's a little bit more complicated. We're not necessarily going to dive too deep into that measure because, to be honest, you very seldom run into that unless you are looking for unless you're doing something very specific. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going back. I'm looking at all of the different measures that we have, and I'm looking at the different looking at the visualization that we're pulling this information from and just getting an idea. I know here this is a matrix, so actually it's probably a table. So I'm going to ask it, how do I get this information? How do I find the customer? Dun, 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 dun. How do I find the customers with the last purchase date, right? Because that's the information that's in the last purchase date table. And it's going to give us a measure for that as well. And with that, we're going to have pretty much all of the measures that we need for this particular, to find prerequisites is very important. But what is the measure? Right, there we go. That's the measure. How do we find the measure? So this is the measure that's used for the last purchase date. And now we have all the measures that we need for this particular report. Now, what I want to do now is, let's close this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over my Power BI report, and it's not a finished report, but it's finished enough to where we're going to be able to look at what those measures actually look like when we brought those measures into our Power BI report. In the following video, we will look at the actual visuals, and we will build out an actual Power BI report using the visuals. So I have created a Power BI report, and well, actually I downloaded the data set already. We hit into the Power BI report, and now what we're doing is we are looking at the actual measures that was created in ChatGPT. The first measure is in a folder, where the first group of measures is in a folder. And in this folder, we have age quantity by age quantity per visit. We have customer visits. We have customer visits trend by customer and total quantity ordered. And I got version 2. Now, here, as we see in the first measure, age quantity per visit. I'm not going to go deep into into the structure of building the measure. I just want you to understand that I just used the exact same measure that was used that we found in ChatGPT, and I brought it over, right? I brought it over. Here's the next measure that we use, or we're using customer visits, and it's simply count rows retail data. Now, as you can see, is creating measures, which is the formulas that we use, the programming script that we use for DAX in Power BI is not terribly difficult. This is really one row, but I've made it 2 rows. Count customer visits equal count rows of retail data, right? It's not that terribly difficult to create measures in Power BI. Again, we have customer visits trend by customer visits equal count rows retail data. Again, I am just trying to show you just how simple programming is. Creating the actual DAX, the measures, the formulas that are needed for Power BI is really not that difficult. We're looking here at total quantity ordered version 2. Now, the reason why I have version 2 is because I have total quantity ordered in another location, so I'm calling this total quantity ordered version 2. But simply, we're just using the sum of retail product A, and we're adding that to the sum of retail product B, sum of retail product C, and the sum of retail product D. Again, as you know, we didn't even have to think about what the measures was going to be, because these are the measures that we received from AI. Now, with that said, again, please understand, you have to know what to ask AI for in order to get the result that you're looking for to make your job easier. We're going to look again at another one of the folders created. This one was for the customer's target location. And basically, just as simple as before, we have age quantity per visit. I mean, not age, average quantity per visit. And we're just dividing the total quantity ordered by the customer visits, right? Again, we didn't have to think about it. We didn't have to use our PEMDAS from math in 5th and 6th grade. It was just as simple as we got the information from ChatGPT and we copied it in. We copied it and we pasted it. Here we have customer revenue. I've called it customer revenue version 2 because I have another customer revenue somewhere. But basically, it's just the sum of the retail data for revenue. That's all it is. And this is actually the formula. This is actually the DAX, the actual measure that we're using in Power BI. Again, that's why I say Power BI is not no code, but it's very low code. And if you're looking here, this is low code. I don't know how much lower code we can get. And we're gonna go over to, we're at total quantity ordered version 2. Again, I used total quantity ordered. I just gave it the title of total quantity ordered version 2. The reason, again, is because I have another total quantity ordered. So I haven't decided which one I wanted to use, which one of the DAX measures I want to use. But again, it's just as simple as adding the sum of the retail data the A units, the sum of the B units, the sum of the C units, and the sum of the D units, and it gives us the total quantity. It's really, I don't want to say just that simple because I don't want to oversimplify what it is to believe to be, what Power BI is believed to be, because it's really not simple. But if you know what you're looking for, it kind of really is fairly simple to work with and to manipulate. Let's go down to the top row that we had in our Power BI report, in the executive report that we were looking at. Across the top, we had KPIs, which is the CARs, the key performance indicators, and we have measures that was created by Power BI. The measure we're looking here is customer rank. Very seldom are you going to be. You could be asked a customer. You could use a customer rank. This is one of the more, I'm gonna say, complex measures. It's not super complex, as you can see. Really, it's about 2 lines. But at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. You got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words or fragments of words that we're using here. Very, very much so not as complicated as many of the other computer programming languages. But this is the one we use from customer rank. Here we have customer revenue. Now, for this one, it's saying customer revenue. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not looking at what I'm looking at. We've got customer revenue and retail data revenue. My question is, when we see the little red squiggly line, there's something that's out of sync there, whether it's the spelling or whatever. We're not going to go through all this, all of the issues that could happen with the red squiggly line. But when you see the red squiggly line, that means that there's an issue. That means that formula, that measure will not work unless it's corrected. I'm not going to spend all your time trying to go through to see what that is, but we can actually pop that back into ChatGPT and it'll probably show us pretty quick. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to go down to the next measure. The next measure is top customer. And again, top customer, basically we're using the calculate function and we are using max and a filter in order to do so. Again, it seems as if this could get kind of tricky. It's really not as tricky as it may look. So I don't want to overwhelm you there. But at the end of the day, this is just as simple as a measure. It's not, of course, we've seen simpler measures, so it's not the most simple measure out there, but it's not as complicated as writing 200 or 300 lines of code, right? Again, we have total customer, and we get the little red squiggly line, retail data record. I was going to take some time and try to go through there, but I'm not going to do it. Just understand that, yeah, sometimes you'll get an error message. This is an error. The red squiggly line is an error message. When we get ready to build out the visualizations, I'll go back and see what is going on with that. Again, we have total quantity ordered. Total quantity ordered. We're looking at the measure for total quantity ordered. And again, it's very, again, it's not that complicated. We're using total quantity ordered, and the way we find total quantity ordered, we're finding the sum of retail product A units, B units, C units, and D units. We're adding those together, and that's all that we are doing here. We're taking A, B, C, and D units, we're adding them together, and that gives us the total. It's pretty elementary, correct? And the last one that we had in our KPIs was the total number of transactions. So in the total number of transactions, again, we have a very simple measure. We've got a very simple measure. Anybody can learn Power. If I can learn Power BI, anybody can learn Power BI. Now, just because we did create additional measures, let's look at that one last folder that we created, which is purchase date, the purchase date measures. And in the purchase date, we have, we have customer recency segment. Now, I don't know why Power BI called it recency. I gave it the same name that Power BI gave it, but it gives us the customer recency segment, which, recency is basically the number of days since the last purchase, whether it's less than 30 days, less than 60 days, less than 90 days. And if it is less than 30, it's to read active 0 to 30 days. If it's less than 60 days, it's to read warm 31 to 60 days. And if the last purchase was less than 90 days, it's cooling is 61 to 90 days. And anything above 90 days is going to read at risk 90 plus days. So, and if you can imagine what that really is for instance, say for instance, a customer has a credit that they're paying on credit. So if they're paying on credit, if their payment is less than 30 days old, you know, it's active. If it's less than 60 days old, it's warm, you need to check on it. If it's less than 90 days old, it's cooling and it's at risk of not being paid if it's 90 days or greater. So at the end of the day, that's what it takes, and I can say that's all it takes, but that's one way that we can use AI to build Power BI reports, is determining what the measures are that are needed for the Power BI report itself, and then we would then be able to build out the actual visualizations. But as you saw as well, we're able to take the visualizations examples of visualizations within AI and build out our actual Power BI reports and layouts as well. And we'll look at that in a following video. But with that said, that's all that I have for this video. Thank you for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.